Squid Game Season 3 has dropped, so let's do a spoiler review. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Geek City, and today we're going to be talking about Squid Game Season 3. This is a spoiler review, so if you have not seen Season 3 and you don't want to be spoiled, go watch it, then come back here. But if you don't care about spoils, what's up, y'all? And make sure to, spoil away in the comment section if you have anything you want to talk about, because don't go in the comments if you haven't watched the season yet, because you will most likely be spoiled. So, let's not waste any more time and get straight into my thoughts. So the first thing I want to say isn't not a negative or positive, it's just basically how I looked at this season. I looked at it as Season 2, Part 2, basically. That's really what it is. It literally just takes place right after Season 2. It's literally just Season 2, Part 2. I think that's the way I look at it here. But that's not really positive or negative. That's just something I wanted to say. It's not really Season 3 as in new games or something. It's just Season 2, Part 2, basically. But that's, again, not a bad thing or anything. It is what it is. So, let's just talk about the season. So, I dropped my short review yesterday where I didn't really spoil a lot. Maybe a couple things I probably shouldn't have said, but I spoiled a little bit, but not a lot. And I was positive, but I was, like, the last two episodes, I kind of lost me. But I think that sleeping on this show and kind of just, like, seeing a lot of other people's thoughts on it, has made me kind of think about the ending of the show a lot more. And how it kind of fits into the theme of the show. And so I think I like the ending a lot more than I did at first. But we'll get to that when we get to there. So let's just kind of talk about the season. The first episode was a little slow, just kind of, reintroducing us to everybody and seeing who everybody is, and Gihan is kind of just like in a spot right now where he's barely talking. He's really broken from what happened in the last season. But they set up what the new game's going to be, and we have the whole stuff with the boat where that one of the not bounty hunters, but you know what I'm talking about. The guys on the boat, one of them says that the Captain Pak, I believe is his name, Captain Pak is, working for the Squid Game people, and so he leaves to go do his own investigation, and we'll talk about that later. Let's just kind of talk about the main chunk of the season, and I think it's safe to say this is the most brutal season of the show yet. 6 episodes. It's the shortest season, but this season I think packs the most emotional punch, where we have now been attached to these characters for technically 2 seasons now, some 3 seasons, and the season was hard to watch in that way, in a good way. I think this season, you're not supposed to like what's going on. That's the whole point. It's good. You're not supposed to like what's happening. I think it does a good job at that. Where just straight off episode 2. Sorry, my laundry machine's going off. But, not mine, but my house. You get what I'm saying. But in episode 2 alone, like 4 or 5 main characters die. Most of the supporting cast gets killed in episode 2 of 6. And a lot of them were my favorites. Let's talk about that episode for a second. This is where I was like, whew, we're in for a rough ride. And it just gets worse and more brutal and more heartbreaking from here. Where basically in episode 2, you have one of the best characters, I believe, 120, the trans military marine. She is protecting the old lady and 222, because 222, in the middle of the game, starts having her baby. Not very good, right? So, I believe it's 120. She finds the exit, but she says, I'm going to help them. So she, instead of going to the exit, she runs over there and says, hey guys, I found the exit. Let's go. So again, a selfless act. Instead of just leaving them, she goes back to help them. And she is killed by 333. Which we will definitely talk about 333 in a second, when we get to individual characters. It was brutal. 120, I believe, I could be wrong about the number, but y'all know who I'm talking about, was one of the best characters in the show, where she was always helping other people over herself. The entire show. Fantastic character. And she dies from basically deciding, instead of saving myself, I'm going to go save them too, and she dies in the process. She could have survived if she just left, but no, she chose to help them. Because of that, she was killed. It just gets worse from there. You basically have that weird cuckoo lady, the mystical girl who like believes she's like God or whatever. She gets killed, which I didn't complain about that at all. I thought she was annoying. But then you get a couple more in here where basically I think the most you get the Marine, the dude that was pretending to be in the Marines. He is killed by Gihan. But basically, Gihan feels like he was responsible for how everybody died in season 2. Or because basically at the end of season 2, the fake Marine guy was supposed to grab more ammo and he fumbled and he got scared, so he left. And so that caused them to lose, basically. And so because of that, the whole team lost. And so Gihan kills him this episode. And it was brutal, man. It was brutal. And then it gets even worse. It gets even worse from there because they kill off the son. The son gets killed by his own mother. She has to kill her child. In this episode alone, 4 of the big players from last season are just killed. And a baby is born. Goodness gracious. But it gets worse. It just gets worse from here. Oh, man. Because in episode 3, I believe, you have Gihan, who's basically being the father instead of 333, even though 333 is the father. And again, we will talk about him more later, because there's a lot to say with him. Gihan talks to the mom. I believe it's 140, something like that. She says, you need to... And this is kind of his wake-up call, because for the first 2 episodes, he's barely talking, he's angry. But this kind of snaps him back into reality, where she's like, you need to be there. You need to protect 222 and her child. And I was like, oh, this is a great conversation. Really, I'm really excited to see how this girl's going to do now that she has killed her son. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with her. They had this great conversation. And then Gihan wakes up the next day. And she has hung herself. I think this was the second most shocking, sad death for me. Because I didn't expect it at all, you know? I was already heartbroken from the fact that they killed 4 main characters last episode, including one of my favorites. And then she kills herself. Because she had to kill her own son. That's why she had that talk with Gihan. She said, I'm going to end my life. I need you to be there to protect that baby. And that's basically the chain reaction for the rest of the season. Her killing herself and putting this responsibility on Gihan is what leads to the final moments in this season. This is the baby is basically the MacGuffin of the season. That baby is probably the most important character for the rest of the season. The CGI one. Yeah, she killed herself, and it was awful. It was brutal. And there's multiple layers to it, because on one hand, she killed herself because she blames herself for killing her son. Because she did kill her son, and it was awful. She didn't want to, but she had to. But then, also, there's a side to it where she felt like Gihan and 222 have been kind of having to protect her, because, you know, she's an old lady, so I think there's multiple layers where she wanted them to not have to have this burden of protecting her, but also she blamed herself a lot for killing her son. It was brutal, man. It was rough. It was awful, man. Let's talk about the boat stuff for a second. Basically, the dude breaks into Captain Pock's house and he finds all this money and stuff, but he gets arrested. And the whole subplot is kind of goes nowhere, but at the same time, it does get the island to blow up at some point. So we'll talk about that later. But then you get the next game, which is this like jump rope game. The CGI here was a little off. And although I like the season a lot more now that I've sat on the ending, I still felt this game was just weird, like the CGI and just the humor or something about it. But you got that one dude who was addicted to Thanos' perks. He gets killed because he's trying to he's addicted now. 125 is also now addicted. Basically, well, no, he only took like 2 of them, but still. And then you have 222 with a fractured foot. She gets Gihan to bring the baby to the other side. She knows she's not going to make it. She knows she's not going to make it across. So she jumps off. So basically, by episode 4, one player in the game that we care about is still alive. No, 2, if you include 125. There's only 2 of them. Everybody else you liked in season 2 is dead. All of them, they're dead. By episode 4, the intro to episode 4, she doesn't even make it halfway through. Everybody's dead, bro. Everybody. It was not okay. But then you got the whole dinner, and basically everybody, the top 8 players, other than Gihan and 125, they're all like terrible people, including player 100, who everybody hates. They're all like, let's kill the baby. Because the baby is now considered a player, so it's now 9 people. So like, let's kill the baby. She doesn't get she shouldn't join. So they're trying to kill the baby. But again, Gihan now has this responsibility. The mom is dead. The dad is 333, and 333 is not doing nothing. We don't care about him. He's terrible. He's not there as a father, so Gihan has this responsibility to take care of that child. So he will not let them. That's when you get the game master finally revealing to Gihan that he was number 1. And this is an interaction where this is one of the few times where the ending still kind of bothers me a little bit. But it's like, I get what they were doing. So basically, the Game Master did kind of grow an attachment with 456 over whenever he was playing. So because of that, he gives him this knife and says, you can use it to kill players. And you get this thing where you kind of see the Game Master. You learn he was in the games, and you see that he would stab people while they were sleeping so that he could win. But Gihan chooses not to do this because he sees a vision of was Soy Byok 6'7", the girl. I hate saying that number now because it's a me, but the girl that was the final straw in the first season, where she was killed in her sleep. And so whenever Gihan goes to kill 100, he sees her. She gets a small little cameo, and he realizes this is not who I am. So he doesn't kill anybody. Then you get the next game, the final game. And the game was kind of boring at first, where it's like you get the squares and they have to choose to push somebody off. And the first person they kill is 125. And it's kind of it's so miserable. Again, this season is so miserable. It's in season 1 and 2, even though they're both brutal, you get those moments of being happy, whether they're cracking jokes with each other or celebrating that their team won. No, there's none of that this season. There was not a single happy moment in this season. It's miserable the entire time. It's miserable the entire time. So 125, this kid who feel like he was weak, he let his friend die. He now is taking these pills and he's seeing Thanos and the other dude, and they push him off. It was brutal. Terrible, terrible, miserable ending for him. And then you get this fight where they're all deciding who they should bunk off. And again, 333. His child is being protected by Gihan. The dad isn't doing nothing. Gihan is. Gihan is dad of the year, bro. Nah. But because it's kind of looked at as a second chance, because Gihan, wasn't the best father, but this is kind of looking at as a second chance. He's doing anything to protect this baby. And then basically it comes down to 333, 456, and the baby. Gihan, 333, and the baby. Mind you, 333 is the dad. And he's willing to kill his own baby. Let's talk about him for a second. I liked him in season 2, but I think this season they just went all out with him. He's lost it totally. He killed one of the fan favorite characters in episode 2, and since then he's not a good father. He didn't feel anything whenever 222 died. So basically, by this point, he's lost it, and they get in the final fight with 456 and 333. 333 dies. So you would think, oh my gosh, yay, 456 and the baby, they won. They're gonna win. But you realize they never clicked the button. You're supposed to click the button and then kill the person. But since they never clicked the button, the game never started. And that's where most people are like, oh, if I was 456, I would kill the baby. But that's when 456 looks at the game master and the VIPs and says, we are humans. We are not horses. It was, we are not horses. We are humans. Humans are. And he never finishes a sentence. He jumps off. And I'm getting goosebumps on my legs right now. I literally have goosebumps on my leg from talking about this. This is crazy. 456 jumps off and dies. The lead character that we've been following all 3 seasons. He's dead. He's gone. The baby wins. The cop, the dude from season 1, season 2, season 3, finds the baby. He's now going to be the adoptive father. And the game, basically, the island is everybody evacuates and the island is destroyed. So that's it. That's basically the season. At the very end, we see Cate Blanchett as the little host guys who slaps people. We see the game master in the car, and he sees Cate Blanchett just to show that no matter how much we fight, we're in a system where the cruel, evil, rich people are always going to continue. And I didn't get that at first. So, we have now talked about all 6 episodes. Let's just talk about how I felt at first versus how I feel now. When I first watched the show, last night, I did a review. A short little 60-second review, and I talked about how I loved the first couple episodes, didn't like the jumping jacks, and I felt like ever since then it just got worse. And I'm thinking about it, sleeping on it, seeing what other people have thought about the season. I've totally kind of changed that perspective. Where I loved the first 4 episodes. I still don't like the jumping jack game. I feel like it was just kind of out of, like, tonally, just kind of, I don't know. CGI was a lot, but I can forgive it because it gave us 2-2's death. But when I first reviewed it, the reason I was disappointed is because I wanted this big showdown where the 2 brothers have this final fight together. Gihan destroys the system. He defeats the Game Master. The Game Master is killed, and Squid Game ends, and everybody's safe, and it's over. There will be no more Squid Game. And that's it. That's what I wanted at first. But then I realized, while sleeping on it and thinking about it and seeing other people's perspective, no, that's not what the theme of the show is at all. The show has had the same theme for the last 3 years. And this ending that they chose is the most realistic one. You're not supposed to like this ending. You're not supposed to be like, woo! This isn't Avengers Endgame, where you see all these people together and they're all fighting and they beat the bad guy. No, this isn't that. This is the most realistic ending the show could have had. Every character who dies in this season has a terrible, miserable death. No one's happy. The only person who dies really accomplishing, doing what they... was Gihan. Gihan dies. His death is supposed to show to the Game Master and all the VIPs that humans are not just playthings. Because the VIPs were like, oh, we're going to see him kill this baby. It's going to be so much fun. Because that's what they expect. They think all these humans are ruthless. And if you tear them down, you break them apart, they're all going to just become animals. And they'll do whatever they can to win. And some of them are like that. Like 333, 100. But there are some genuinely good people. But when in a cruel system, their morality isn't enough to get them through. So yes, a lot of people are mad that fan favorites are killed in episode 2. But that was the most realistic approach. 120, I believe is her name, was one of the best, most kind-hearted people in the show. She did everything to protect the pregnant girl, the old lady. She did everything. She deserved to win and live happily ever after. But that's not what the show is. That's not what the show is about. She was never going to make it. She wasn't going to. That's the brutal thing about Squid Game. The creator of the show had a message. And he doesn't care about your feelings. He will do what he can to show that message. And that's what he does here. Gihan's death shows the VIPs and the Game Master that they're wrong. Not all humans are just, animals that you can just watch and beat each other up for entertainment. No, that's not what they are. That's not what people are. His sacrifice shows that. And you can see, even though Game Master has a mask on, you can just see his face. You can see what he's thinking. You can see it. So yes, the Korean Squid Game island may have been destroyed, but at the end you see Game Master in a car. And you see Cate Blanchett playing with people. And that's when you realize, no matter how much people fight, no matter how much sacrifices are made, there's always going to be evil. There's always going to be the rich billionaires who are going to be out there. You can beat the system all you want, but you can't. There is no way to beat a system that is created and structured in a way to where you can't beat it. There is no way to stop Squid Game. Yes, there is still a victory at the end of the season, where the island is destroyed, the baby is saved, Game Master, I believe, quits. So yes, the island is destroyed. Good. But you see Kate Blanchett playing with a homeless person, setting up this David Fincher USA spinoff. And at first I didn't like that. I was like, why are we doing a spinoff? But now thinking about it, I'm realizing Squid Game would never end. There was no way to get rid of this evil. There's no way. And that's why I think this ending is perfect. It's the perfect ending. And I didn't think that at first. Go watch my show review. I was kind of negative on the ending. I didn't like the ending. But even just talking about it right now, I don't have a script. I'm just talking. I'm liking it more and more. I have goosebumps on my legs right now. I'm not joking. I'm talking about it. I'm getting goosebumps on my legs. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. They are on my legs right now. This is not a happy ending. This isn't a, yeah, we beat the bad guys. Woohoo! No, this is a realistic representation of sometimes evil, you just can't get rid of it. They still give us a small victory with the island blowing up, the baby being saved, 222 lives on. And yes, Gihan's sacrifice, although sad, does show that the VIPs were wrong. That's good. That's good. Little push. That's good. There's still going to be the Squid Game. You can't get rid of evil. You can't get rid of evil. It's always going to be there. So yes, that's me talking about the show. I think I'm talking about it more. I'm starting to love this season a lot more. Low key, like sitting on it. I still have a couple issues. Like I think the pacing was a little off. I didn't like the jumping jack game. Not the jumping jack game, the jump rope game. I've been saying jumping jack the whole time. The jump rope game. Those are my two flaws, but they're not that big. Most characters have a miserable ending, but that's realistic. That's how this would go. Because these are terrible people using poor people and seeing them get broken down. It's how it was going to go. But Gihan proves them wrong, and that's what I like to see. So overall, yeah, I did really like the season a lot, and just talking about it a lot more has made me like it a lot more. And this is one of those conclusions where it's great to have a conversation about. Like, it reminds me of Breaking Bad season 5, where the ending's not really happy. You're just kind of like, everybody just kind of has a miserable, but it's the perfect conclusion. That's what I think this is. This isn't like a conclusion where this isn't that. This is just, I still think this is the perfect conclusion. So if you watched the last episode, and you didn't like it, I suggest maybe try like thinking about it a little more. Maybe watching this review help you see, a little more, because I didn't like it at first, but I'm thinking about it more and I'm really liking it now. So that's my review. Make sure to let me know in the comment sections what were your positives and your negatives about the season. Spoil away in the comment section down below. And as always, stay geeky.